What's up YouTube, Jeff back again from DopeTechDaily.com. Today I'm bringing you guys a comparison between the Huawei P20 Pro and the Huawei Mate RS Porsche design. Now these phones were released at the same time. They have quite a few things in common, but they also have a few differences that I want to talk about today. Of course, the biggest difference between these two phones right out of the gate is the price. I imported the P20 Pro about a month ago. I paid about $950. I imported the Huawei Mate RS Porsche design off of eBay about a week ago, and for this one I paid $1,950, so almost $2,000. Definitely the most expensive phone I've ever bought. So of course, if you're going for the cheaper of the two, definitely the P20 Pro is the way to go. But I want to talk about the differences between them. There's obviously some aesthetic differences and also some functional differences. First, let's talk about what's the same in these two devices. Both of them have the same processor. They've got the Kirin 970, which is Huawei's in-house chip. Both of them run very smooth with the Kirin 970 in there. They both have 6 gigabytes of RAM on the inside as well. They both have a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, which gives you incredibly good battery life on both devices. The P20 Pro is a little bit better because it has a lower resolution screen, while the Huawei Mate RS Porsche design does have a 1440 by 2880 super high resolution screen. They both have OLED screen technology and both of them have beautiful displays, even though of course the Mate RS does have the higher pixel density because of the higher resolution. Battery life, very impressive overall, and those are a lot of the things that are the same. They of course both run the same software as well. They are both running EMUI 8.1, which is based off Android 8.1 Oreo. So both of them have very, very recent Android versions, and they both run very well with those versions of software installed. They both also have very recent security patches as well. So a lot of those things are not differentiators when deciding if you want to buy one of these phones versus the other, but there are obviously quite a few little aesthetic differences that you can see right off the bat. Obviously, the P20 Pro, as we know, has the notch cut out at the top there of the screen. You can see the P20 Pro there on the right. The Mate RS Porsche design does not have the notch. You can see it's got sort of a extra tall aspect ratio full screen with minimal bezels at the top and the bottom, kind of like a Galaxy S9 or an S9 Plus. I actually prefer that more myself. It does have a slightly higher screen to body ratio on the Mate RS Porsche design. You can see at the bottom, both phones do have a chin, which is necessary on Android just because of the way the hardware on the inside is situated. But on the Porsche design, you've got the Porsche design logo there on the bottom, the text. Over here you have a physical fingerprint sensor, which is also used as the home button and also can be used as gesture navigation. On the bottom, you notice you've got USB Type-C port, speakers there, of course, on both devices. Slightly different arrangement here on the Mate RS Porsche design, as you can see, but they both got the Type-C port in the dead center. On the top here, you can see both of them have very similar arrangements as well. There is no 3.5 millimeter headphone jack on either of these devices, so the top very similarly laid out. The sides, same sort of deal. You've got your power button, your volume rocker on both devices. Not really any big differences there. If you flip over to the other side, you'll notice both of them have the SIM tray in approximately the same location, so no real difference there. On the back, there are quite a few differences. Obviously, the P20 Pro and the Mate RS Porsche design both have these super reflective glass backs. You can see the Huawei logo is in a slightly different place. You've got the Porsche design logo here on the Mate RS. They both have the same Leica triple camera setup, but they've got them in slightly different spots because the Porsche design Mate RS does have a rear fingerprint sensor, while of course the P20 Pro does not. Its only fingerprint sensor is on the front here. So the triple camera setup, they're exactly the same sensor and everything. You got that 40 megapixel max resolution, super low light performance, all that great stuff with the Leica branding, but they're just in different spots. Those are the main differences in terms of the aesthetics. A couple of functional differences: even though they both have glass backs, the P20 Pro does not have wireless charging, while the Huawei Mate RS Porsche design does have wireless charging, so that is something to be aware of when you're considering between the two phones. Now, the other huge difference, of course, between them is that the Mate RS Porsche design, this is actually the reason I really wanted to get this phone, has an in-display fingerprint reader, one of the first sort of big flagships to have that. Of course, again, the P20 Pro only has the single fingerprint sensor on the bottom chin on the home button. So this guy right here, you just put your finger there and it opens the phone. Now, I will say the fingerprint sensor in display does not work quite as nicely as the one that's on the back, the rear fingerprint sensor, and that one is the one that I use when I really need to get in quickly. This one can be a little finicky. You can see it's working for me right now, but if you get your finger a little to the side, It's not that great at reading it. It's not as good as reading the edges as you might see on a rear fingerprint sensor or even on the sensor on the P20 Pro. Definitely the in-display fingerprint sensor is one of the best reasons to get this phone. Is it worth an extra $1,000? I would say not. But it is a really awesome feature, and it's something I'm really enjoying playing around with this early tech, which a lot of phones will probably have soon. Now, the last little difference is you do get a little more storage on the Mate RS, depending on which version you buy. This one has 256 gigs of storage, while of course you get 128 gigs on the P20 Pro. That's not really a distinguishing factor because, of course, both of those are probably enough storage for anyone these days. 128 gigs is a lot of storage, and I don't really even need the 256. There's also a version of the Mate RS that comes in red that has 512 gigs of storage. I just think that's way overkill for me. You will notice as well that on the bottom here, there's a different navigation system on the two. On here, I have the single button hard key navigation where I can press the hard key to go home, I can tap it to go back, and I can swipe to bring up the recent apps. I have a similar implementation here on the Mate RS. It's got this single little bar, which kind of looks like the gesture navigation in Android P. Basically, the way this works is you tap it once to go back. Well, let me go to a website first so I can show you guys what happens. Tap it once to go back, long press it to go home, swipe it to the right, or swipe it to the left to get your recent apps. It's actually really convenient and I'm enjoying it. The only issue is it doesn't really take up any less space than the traditional navigation buttons because it's still right there at the bottom of your browser or any of your apps. So anyway, that's an overlook of these two. I think, the main reasons if you want to buy the Mate RS, it's a very expensive phone. The main reasons are the in-display fingerprint sensor, higher resolution screen, wireless charging, and extra storage if you really need it. But again, I don't think it's really worth the extra $1,000. The P20 Pro is a great phone. They both have the same camera. They both have the same excellent battery life within a couple of minutes of each other just because of the higher resolution screen. Anyways, guys, that's a quick look at the Mate RS Porsche design versus the P20 Pro. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification icon so I can make future videos like this. Find me at dopetechdaily.com, Google+, Instagram, and Twitter. The links in the description. Really appreciate you guys checking this one out, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.